Welcome back, everyone. We have Calvin Ruda here with us from West Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. Today, we're meeting some baby squirrels. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So tell us a little bit about these little critters that you brought with you today.
So today I'm here to talk a little bit about baby season in general, and in the spirit of that, I do have a couple of very tiny little baby squirrels who are very squirmy right now.
Yeah.
So these guys are a little bit older.
Okay.
We kind of have our squirrels separated into two groups, which is basically super tiny babies, which are still pink. They're usually almost totally blind still, with their eyes are still closed. And everything else. Once they get a little bit older, usually once their eyes open like this, we give them somebody else.
Okay.
And they kind of can take care of them from that point forward because they get a little bit more independence once they're a little bit older like this. You don't have to feed them like every 2 or 3 hours. It's like twice a day. And they can start to eat solid foods. So, for example, this little guy here has started eating Cheerios and almonds and things.
That's so cute.
Now, these guys here are kind of a rare case. Recently, a lot of times with squirrels, you can, like I came on the show last time and talked a little bit about how you can place baby squirrels kind of just outside for mom and she'll come pick them up. But of course, every once in a while, that just doesn't work out, for whatever reason. And that's when we end up taking care of these little guys. Now, one of the things I also wanted to come in and talk about with these, obviously here I've got a big old fancy incubator box for keeping them warm. But for people at home, especially during this baby season where people are much more likely to find baby animals out and about, there are some ways that if they want to try to help out, right, to transport them to us or just kind of keep them safe until we can get there, that they can do that. So we probably don't expect everyone to have an incubator box at home for keeping things warm. But dog crates or like cat, kind of basically pet carriers of any kind that you put a towel or something in at the bottom. That's great for even just storing them for a while. But obviously, if you're going to try to transport them to the center, that's fantastic. And of course, like cardboard or plastic boxes with towels or something soft at the bottom and holes drilled in the top. As a very important note, please put the holes in the box before you put the animal in there. It seems like common sense, but just to be extra careful with these little guys. And they are, as you can kind of tell, very rambunctious, even at a very young age. Yes.
Now, how old are these baby squirrels?
So I believe these guys are probably going to be about a couple weeks to a month old, I believe, with their eyes open and everything like this. They start out tiny.
Hairless.
Hairless. And for the first little while, their eyes stay closed and they kind of, are bottle fed all the time. Once they get a little bit older, it usually takes a couple weeks for those eyes to open up. And I will say that, too, that some of the squirrels act very differently. So if we get squirrels in when their eyes are still closed, well, the first thing they see when their eyes open is people. And so they're much more relaxed and kind of comfortable with us. If you get a baby squirrel whose eyes are already open, they're maybe a little more nervous, because they're used to seeing mama squirrel, and then all of a sudden, these big old people are walking around trying to take care of them.
Absolutely.
They don't complain too much after you start feeding them, though, I will say.
Gotcha. And are squirrels, I'm assuming they're one of the most common infant animals that y'all receive.
I would say squirrels, possums, and raccoons, other than, of course, baby birds, are the ones that we get the most of. Squirrels in particular. And now, as I said, mama squirrels are so good about getting their babies. But especially around here, it's just so dang windy that squirrel nests and stuff get blown down all the time. And sometimes, mom just isn't, around to come pick them up again. So I think we'll probably go through a couple hundred by the end of the season. And they usually come in big batches, of course, because it's usually not like one baby squirrel. It's usually 3 or 4 at a time. And sometimes many, especially have like one of those big windstorms we get sometimes.
Gotcha, Calvin. Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. We're still here with Calvin from West Wildlife Rehabilitation, and we are talking about the work that they do in the community. So just like with these baby squirrels that you have, y'all have quite a bit of animals out there that you help, rehabilitate and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So last year, for example, we had just under 3,500 animals come through the center in total. A lot of those are babies. Especially during these kind of months right now, which is this kind of like spring into summer months, is when we're going to get the most of them. Now, this is also when we take in most of our volunteers and everything else, because especially when we're talking about baby birds And like these guys, when we get into the peak of baby season, you're talking about taking care of 100 at a time of like baby animals.
Yeah.
And they do require like constant feeding. Like baby birds, we have to set alarms, and like every 30 minutes, even if they're at home with you, so when you're in bed, an alarm goes off, you get up to give these baby birds their food, and then do that over and over again until they're old enough.
Yeah.
Not for the week.
No, and but it's also when we take in a lot of volunteers and things like that who will help out with those kind of tasks, which is fantastic.
Absolutely.
We do also get obviously like the foxes and everything else, but these squirrels and these kind of like smaller animals like this, they're the ones who start coming in first.
Okay.
They come in first. They start in very early spring. I want to say like we got the first of these guys in mid-February. Once they and they're also the last ones we get.
Okay.
Like they're having babies the whole season, and squirrels and kind of animals like this.
Yeah.
Now, one thing about babies, people often think like with baby birds that like you're gonna touch them and mom's gonna think not gonna like them anymore because they smell the oils. That's not true. It's not something we have to worry about really. More so, what we're gonna want to worry about is obviously overstressing the animal, right? Overhandling and things like that, especially when they're tiny babies.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, even baby birds, the other thing is, of course, we want to be careful about touching them if they're sick. Baby birds in particular. Sometimes we don't have to worry about bird flu as much with like baby birds.
Right.
But like lice and things like that. So of course, wear gloves if you're ever going to handle these kind of animals and try to like place them in a crate or anything like that. So take care of yourself. Be safe for yourself first and foremost.
Right.
Yeah, and then these guys too. I was just about to say something about baby season, and it totally slipped my mind.
Well, we got about 30 seconds. How can volunteer? Well, obviously people can volunteer, but how can they donate items and things to help out with the
so
babies?
especially during these baby season months, like hand towels and things like that, including like baby towels, are fantastic. Donating your time, money, and anything like that, you can always, of course, call the center. And check and see if there's anything in particular that, if we need anything, or if you have like a specific thing you want to hand over.
Right.
And you can always keep track of things on our Facebook page and through our website, both in terms of what we're having coming through the center in baby season, how our current animals are doing, and like upcoming news and changes. So for example, yesterday the City Council, of course, approved the Amarillo Zoo being taken over by Wild West.
Yes.
So all of that kind of information and more is going to be coming out in the days and weeks as we get further into spring and summer.
That sounds good, man. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, of course. Thank y'all for having me.
Absolutely.
Of course.